All right, guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be continuing our lesson on functions. And today we're going to be evaluating them. So we're used to writing functions as y equals something, but they can also be written as f of x equals something. And for example, f of x equals x minus 2 squared is the function we looked at before, if you remember. And that's how you read it, right? You read it as f of x. And what it really stands for is a function of x. And it doesn't need to be f. We just like to make it f because f for function is nice. But if you start dealing with multiple, they can be called different things. You can literally put any number, g of x, h of x are common ones, but you could put anything there that you want, but we typically do f. So for an example, evaluate each function at the given input. And so I just want to point out that finding f of negative 4, really all that means is we're plugging negative 4 in for x. So, and the way I like to think about it is, well, we have f of x, but it wants f of negative 4. Didn't we just replace x with negative 4? So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this equation. So f of negative 4, I've replaced x with negative 4. So anywhere I see an x, right there, I'm going to replace it with negative 4. And when I evaluate that, we're going to get f of negative 4 equals negative 4 is positive 4 plus 4. So then it turns out that f of negative 4 is 8. And let's just do the same thing, except now we have of g of x, and we want g of 2. So we've replaced x with 2, and so I'm just going to do the same thing in this equation. I see a 5. Oh, there's a 2, or there's an x, and then plus 1. And so then g of 2 equals 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 1. So g of 2 equals 11. And now we're going to do the same thing, except we're just going to get a little more complicated. So we're looking for f of negative 4. Negative 4, I'm replacing with x, so negative, and then negative 4 squared minus 10. Well, I know that negative 4 squared is positive 16, but then it's negative positive 16. So it should be negative 16 minus 10. And then f of negative 4 is going to be negative 26. We're going to do a similar thing here. So we're looking for g of negative 5. So I'm just going to put negative 5. Since I replaced x with negative 5 here, I'm going to replace x with negative 5 in these equations. So we're going to have 4. Oh, I see an x, so I'm going to replace it with negative 5. Plus, oh, there's an x, so I'm going to replace it with negative 5 and then minus 5. And then I'm just going to take each of these step by step. Negative 5 squared is going to be 25. So we have 4 times 25 plus a negative 5 is just minus 5 and then minus 5 again. Well, and now 4 times 25 is 100. Minus 5 minus 5. That's 100 minus 5, which is 95, minus 5, which is 90. So we have g of negative 5 equals 90. So not too bad. That just means plugging something in for x and finding out what it equals. And again, how we would read this is g of negative 5 equals 90. That's how you say it out loud. And so now, same kind of idea, except this sometimes trips people up. So I'm saying solve for x. So if we have f of x equals 5x plus 2, and it gives me f of x equals 7. A lot of times people will mess up and they will put 7 in for x and solve from there. But that's not what it's asking. It is telling you that f of x itself, f of x right here, it is telling you that f of x is 7. F of x equals 7 is another thing for that they're one and the same, right? If f of x is 7, 7 is f of x. So, since f of x is 7, that's what this is telling me, I'm going to replace it with 7. So, 7 equals 5x plus 2, and now I can solve, right? subtract 2 from both sides, and we're left with 5 equals 5x. And then divide both sides by 5, and we'll get that x equals, and then 5 divided by 5 is just 1. And if you want to rewrite it with x on the left side, that's totally fine too. And now we're going to do the same thing here, right? So for h of x equals negative 2x minus 5, we need to find x when h of x equals 9. So keep in mind, we're not replacing x with 9 here. It's telling us h of x is 9. So where I see this h of x, since I see that h of x is the same thing as 9, I'm going to put 9 in for h of x. And then I'm going to rewrite the rest. Equals 2x, negative 2x minus 5. And then I'm going to solve. So if I add 5 to both sides, then I get 14 equals negative 2x. Then I need to divide both sides by negative 2. Negative 2. And then once I do that, I'm going to get x on this right side equals 14 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 7. And again, if you want to, you can rewrite it with the x on the left. It means the same thing. And that is all we have for evaluating functions. And essentially what we're doing here, if you didn't take note, is x is still our input, but now instead of y being our output, we have this h of x or f of x being our output. So we've gone over finding x when we're given the output, f of x or h of x or g of x, and we've gone over evaluating a function at a specific point, which is when you're given the x coordinates. So like when it says f of 5, find f of 5, you're plugging 5 in for x.